In BC, a reconciliation reckoning is starting. Driven by a BC Supreme Court ruling casting doubt on whose land this is.
Reconciliation cannot be done at the expense of private property owners.
Your people here knew about it. I'm going to assume you knew about it.
Rights and titles in these lands and waters have collided.
We fought to get back what was ours.
The claim went on some land that's in the heart of our territory.
You don't need to be a lawyer to figure out that you can't have two exclusive rights to one thing.
Just as some groups publicly question the horrors of the past.
We're in Richmond, British Columbia, where a court ruling has people who live here worried. They own their land, they have titles of ownership, but Cowichan Nation argued it should have Aboriginal title to this land. A court agreed, and now everyone is trying to figure out what that means.
Here's the land at the heart of the dispute, about 325 hectares. Some of it is owned by the federal government and the city of Richmond, but part of it is also privately owned under something called fee simple title, how most people own property in Canada. Thomas Isaac specialises in Aboriginal law. He says that part of the decision puts the province's land title system on shakier ground.
What we've ended up with is a very large decision, upwards of almost 4,000 paragraphs from the BC Supreme Court that essentially held that Aboriginal title can apply to private property. And so that proposition is significant. We've not had a court expressly state that on Aboriginal title.
It's never happened before, a court declaring Aboriginal title on land owned by other people. It's significant here because in BC, 95% of land was never formally signed away by First Nations through treaties. We went to Duncan to meet some of the people leading this side of the fight.
And everybody wonders what's going on or why we're so quiet.
Cindy Daniels is the chief of Cowichan tribes. She's been reluctant to talk about the case in the media until now. She says this legal action seeks to right a historic wrong.
We knew through our history that we belonged there, that we lived there, that we fished there, that we hunted there, that we gathered food there. And we lost our land over there, and we wanted it back.
Cowichan Nation, which represents 5 nations on Vancouver Island, say they used to have a village on that land in Richmond up until about the 20th century.
So you could almost picture how it looked, Dina's looked.
This is Richmond,
Yeah.
Yep, and this is the area.
We went to Victoria's Land Title Office to check out some of the evidence used in court. Historical maps, journals and documents, some more than 150 years old.
For example, there's a little note here, and unfortunately it's caught in the binding.
Yeah.
But it says, I believe it says Indian Village.
That helped the Cowichan argue successfully land parcels sold to private owners decades ago should have been set aside for them. A victory, the chief says, has made them a target in their own community.
Nobody in this negative media is thinking of how we, the 5 nations, felt being removed from our own land. We were the first victims. They're actually on our land.
Fighting their claim, 3 levels of government and even 2 other First Nations who argued they're having to defend their traditional territory from Cowichan Nation.
BC has very few treaties.
Wayne Sparrow is the chief of Musqueam Indian Band. He says the decision competes with their fishing rights and they're ready to go to Canada's highest court to defend them again.
The claim went on some land that's in the heart of our territory. Fishing rights, Musqueam won in the Supreme Court of Canada, not far from the land that the Cowichans were claiming with the Sparrow case.
Adding to all the tension, private landowners inside the claim area were never part of the court action. They poured into a town meeting, angry and anxious about what it all means for their title going forward.
And no one let us know about it. That's not right.
Cowichan Nation have said their dispute is with the Crown, not the private owners, and they just want title to the land that was taken from them. Some locals say it leaves them in a difficult position.
I think there needs to be something done for the Cowichan, but not giving up private property. I don't think that's one of the answers.
This isn't going to be settled for a while. All parties are appealing the decision. That means the Court of Appeal and then very likely the Supreme Court of Canada. But as this plays out, attitudes to reconciliation here are changing as shock and uncertainty shift people and politics.
A number of questions have been raised by recent court decisions, and there's uncertainty in a number of sectors about the path forward on reconciliation.
BC Premier David Eby is even backing away from legislation that ties the province to a framework that promoted reconciliation. The NDP government is now looking to scale it back. And then there's scenes like this at campuses. Residential school denialists clashing with student protesters who say they won't tolerate people downplaying the harms of colonial policies. The outcry, just a backdrop to stir more anger online for an increasingly ready-made audience, says Stuart Prest, a political scientist at the University of British Columbia.
This has landed at the centre of BC politics, and we are going to see additional movement. And I do worry that this is going to be yet another issue where we have the problems divided into polarized camps. And there is already evidence that parties are going to focus on very simple, even simplistic answers about what are really thorny, nuanced questions.
Back in Richmond, everything and nothing has changed. The decision is paused as it goes through the courts. For now, two competing titles sit on the same land, and with them, uncertainty, unlikely to change soon.